It's a little crazy with the kid and the dog.
I can't get my video to work today.
That makes me look adventurous.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. I know. Oh no.
Welcome to Bankruptcy.
That was so bad.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I have a couple things to go over and then we will get started. But my name's Katie. I will be the MC today. So before we get started, let's wait just a couple minutes and go over a few things. Give everyone some time to join. Please take a look at the code of conduct that should be posted right now or briefly by one of the community moderators. So we just want to make sure that this is a safe and inclusive space. And then to read the full statement, they're going to be posting a link so you can review that. And then just take a moment to go over a few simple housekeeping items. So we have a chat feature that you can use to chat with fellow attendees, communicate technical issues. Our community moderators are Sarah Taylor and Kelly Oldigus, who will be posting relevant information, links into the chat, answering questions, posting polls. So please use the chat to communicate with other attendees and then inform us of any technical issues. We've had a pretty full house for our previous session, so I do want to let everyone know we're recording every session. We will be posting those to our Next Chapter YouTube page later today, and we'll also email you all with a link. The link will also include the slides from this show. If you want to access Ron's slides while he's presenting, close your chat, minimize it, and there should be an icon at the top right where you can download all of that. So we'll get you all of that information later today, but that's just a few housekeeping items in the meantime. We've also created a free Slack group for you to continue the conversation. So it's open to all Bankruptcy Week attendees. We encourage you to join it and network. We have channels broken out by regions, and we have a few hundred people already chatting. So it's completely free. We'll include that link in our event recap later today too, but we'll also post it a few times throughout the session. So thanks again for joining us for Bankruptcy Systems and Workflows with Ron today. Since this pandemic has started, 3 million people are not paying their mortgage. 1 in 4 small businesses have shut down. 22 million people as of Monday, so that's just skyrocketed throughout the week, have filed unemployment. So that's why we came up with Bankruptcy Week. The economy is not going to be the same when we get through this. So us being a legal software company in the bankruptcy space, we've seen firsthand the data represented by the ebbs and flows of the economy. During the last recession, bankruptcy filings went up 74%. So attorneys definitely need to be prepared. And this week has just been really fun helping all of you learn bankruptcy, but also learn how to better your practice through marketing, software, social media, payments, workflows, and more. And we've had Ron host 2 other sessions where he really went into bankruptcy basics. And now he gets to kind of show how he manages all of that, what different tools that he uses, and how to best prepare for that. So those of you who haven't had a chance to join yet, Ron has been practicing bankruptcy law since 1985, before he even graduated law school. So he's licensed to practice and has filed thousands of cases in California, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. His YouTube channel has 250 videos related to bankruptcy practice, and he's written dozens of articles on bankruptcy, created numerous infographics, and also authored 2 books. So those books alone have over 2,000 copies in circulation. And he also hosts a course, and we'll get you that link throughout this webinar a few times. So I will be back around 2:45 to do a Q&A session with Ron. So make sure you're using that questions tab to ask questions, because that way we can upvote and our moderators can choose the best, and it'll give you a better chance of having those be answered. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Ron on stage to take over and get started, and I will hop off and be back in a little bit. So I think Ron's getting ready. He should be on shortly. He's in
Doing?
breakfast now. Hello again.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
You know what? I usually had a light the last 2 times, and I just don't have it. So hopefully you can see me, and it's not too dark.
No, I think it's perfect. Looks good. Sounds
Perfect.
good. Okay.
All right.
We'll be back in a little bit then.
All right. Thanks, Katie.
Okay, bye.
Okay. So let's get these slides up. All right. I'm a bit of a systems wonk because you know, I just want to automate and move things through in a really predictable and systematic way. But you know what? Everybody has systems in their office. Even if the system is just yelling out to your assistant, "Hey, would you get me the Smith file?" That's a system. Whether or not it's a good system, whether it's a system that's going to really help you maximize your profits and minimize your expense is an open question. But everything you have, they're all systems. All right, so onboarding, getting paid, moving your client into your workflow. So I have an onboarding process, and it involves really fundamental things: payment, getting the client service agreement signed. I tell my clients when the documents are due. We have an initial client prep meeting we schedule. We create the document checklist, and we do all of that right at the time of the hire. Now, payments. This is not a criminal practice, and some of you who are out there will know what I mean. If your client has been arrested and you tell them that there's a $5,000 retainer, they're going to find that $5,000. They're going to call everybody they know to get that money. Even then, they're not going to necessarily get it, but they'll do their best. Bankruptcy is not like that. You tell them what your fee is, they're not going to go to everybody they've ever known trying to get that money. So bear that in mind, and as a result, they're not going to have a lump sum. You know, maybe around the time of the tax refunds get sent out, that's one of the most popular times for people to file bankruptcy because they've got a chunk of cash. But if that's not the situation, you know, I did a brief campaign to try to convince people to use their stimulus checks to fund the bankruptcy. And, you know, I just got all of these responses. "Where is my stimulus check? Can you help me get it?" So we immediately terminated that campaign. But, you know, you should insist upon automated payments through LawPay or whoever your merchant servicer is, and prepare to amp up your collections department, because people who are filing bankruptcy are notoriously bad paid. I know there was a whole session regarding bifurcated cases. I don't want to repeat what was discussed there, but you do need to have a separate client service agreement for each side. And, you know, I've never sued a bankruptcy client for fees, even though I could have. It's just not something I like to do. But, you know, you need to be able to go after them to make sure your fee isn't discharged in bankruptcy. Your best bet is to apply recovered garnishments to your fee. And an aggressive move is to charge to recover the garnishments that you're actually going to apply to your fee. And you can do that, and it's not a bad play. What I typically do is I'll send out a demand letter, and if the demand letter works, great, I won't charge for sending out the demand letter. But if I have to file an adversary proceeding in the bankruptcy court to collect that, I charge that on a contingency fee basis. Client service agreements. One of the recent innovations I have, besides keeping it simple, which I've always done, I've seen other attorney-client service agreements that go on and on and on and on. They give me a little heartburn. Mine are, you know, a page and a half long. I like to try to keep it simple. I build in fees for cancellation. You are going to get cancellations in your bankruptcy practice. And so I've learned, and you know, flat fees, they're not earned on receipt. The fee has to be reasonable. So if you get your $2,000 up front for your Chapter 7, and then 3 or 4 months later, the client decides, without your firm necessarily having really dug into the case prep, that they want to cancel, you're going to have to give them some money back unless you build into the client service agreement what has been earned. So we do that. I believe in getting a vendor to sign documents electronically. I use Right Signature by Citrix. You know, we upload templates. We get our client service agreements done in a nanosecond. It's a wonderful thing. Your client service agreement must exclude litigation. You don't want to be in a situation where your client gets sued for fraud and you're stuck because you haven't excluded it. And they let you exclude it. Almost every local rule will let you exclude litigation. You know, and a lot of bankruptcy clients, they don't hire lawyers as a general rule. You may be the only lawyer that they hire their whole life. So they're going to interpret the client service agreement broadly. And I believe that you should set boundaries right up front about that to make sure you don't get hung up doing all sorts of things. Like, for example, helping them fix their credit report, unless you want to be in that business, in which case that's an upsell. But you really don't want to get stuck doing that. All right, I'm going to jump in for a question because it's right there. Lee, especially if they're upvoted. I had to move from the state and federal court I am admitted to. Can I provide any bankruptcy services completely remotely? Answer: yes, I do that. I do that for considerably more than half of my clients. If you're still licensed in the jurisdiction, then you can do that. And I think it's a great thing. Listen, you could be somewhere, and Maryland is geographically amongst the smaller states, but still we've got people that are hundreds of miles away from me. I handle their case, and we do it remotely. All right, so my answer is going to be yes, and we'll close that answer, and then we'll move on. All right, so now projected filing dates. To me, this is one of the critical things that help keep our office organized. So, and we set it at the time of the hire. We take into consideration when they're going to be fully paid. We set the date that documents are due relative to the projected filing date. We set at the time of the initial client prep meeting, and I think I go to the. We talk a lot about this stuff. Okay, we're going to get to that in a little bit, and we automate this so that when we set that projected filing date, they get an email right away that tells them the projected filing date, when the documents due, when their initial client prep meeting done, and this is and a link to a document upload portal. So we try to make that as easy and automated as possible. Projected filing dates, they move all the time because we don't have all the documents, we're not paid, we have ongoing discussions with the client about timing considerations that I went through on Monday. So they're projected, they're not ironclad. And it's a wonderful way to keep your practice organized as you get more and more cases. And you will get more and more cases. And you want to make sure that your team knows what's coming up the next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. My one rule, and I'm a pretty laid back guy in the office. My one rule, don't let projected filing dates slide into the past, because that's when things will fall between the cracks. All right. Now, the next slide here, reasons to change. We talked about that. Well, you'll notice I have that on both. Never let them get into the past on both slides. Clients disappear, by the way. They will ghost you. But I don't want to lose them in their place. So if we've been ghosted, I'll just move their projected filing date up 3 months. And then 3 months from now, we'll look at, we heard back from them. If we have our projected filing date moved too many times because we're ghosted, we take them off the active list. Once we take them off the active list, we send them an email. And the email says very nicely, hey, you know what? We haven't heard from you. We want to do your case. We're taking you off the active case list, but come back to us. And some clients get upset when they get that. And I say, no, you know what? Sometimes I want my clients to be upset by our emails. Not that I want them to be like mad, but I want them to get a little like invested in their own case. And so when we change their projected filing date, we send out an email. The projected filing date's been changed. That will prompt a call. To me, that's a good thing, because I want to stay connected to the client. And then when we take them off the active case, we have a system set up. An automated email goes out. I don't know, it might be every 90 days, it might be every 6 months, where they say, hey, you want to come back? We'd love to have you. And that is a way that I have retained many clients who have come back to us. All right, let's see if we've got some more questions. How do you do cases remotely? Who attends the meeting of creditors? I have an attorney. You can always get people to cover your meetings of creditors, depending how far it is. And you'll see in many jurisdictions, there are attorneys who make a living just doing meetings of creditors. So that handles, Michael, we've got 12. All right, Michael Lee wants to know, what are the best resources for learning bankruptcy from an experienced attorney, but a novice to this practice area? Can we throw up the call to action? That's what the whole point of my course, Complete Bankruptcy, is. It's really an opportunity for me to mentor people who are trying to do this on an ongoing basis. And I'm sure we'll have that call to action in just a second. All right. So let's go back and do more slides. All right, there you are. Thank you, Kelly. All right. So this, I just wanted to show you, this is what we have it set up on our Infusionsoft desktop. This is what our projected filing dates looks like. I had a boatload for April 30th. They're not all going to go April 30th. Some of them, we're going to call ahead of time. They're not ready. They're not paid. They don't want to go. And we'll go into our system to change the projected filing date, and it will populate at a later time. So, but this is roughly what it looks like on our desktop. And everybody on my team has this. So we all know what's in front of us that we're going to have to deal with. All right, the initial client prep meeting. I'm going to spend a little time talking about how we use legal assistance and how we use our virtual paralegals. We're paying our virtual paralegals roughly twice as much as we're paying our legal assistants. That means we want to do as much as we can with our legal assistants until it goes up to our paralegals. So the way I do that in my firm is once once a case gets filed and there is the projected filing date, so my team knows that this is coming up, and on our calendar there is the initial client prep meeting. I put that on the calendar immediately during the onboarding process at the hire. So my legal assistant knows that there is an initial client prep meeting for that client coming up on May 15th at 3 p.m. So earlier in the day, she's going to look and see what documents we have and compare them to our document checklist. And then she'll have the meeting. And we'll go through everything, and she'll say, well, we have this, the questionnaire looks good, and she will look and decide if this client is ready to be escalated to the paralegal. If they're not, paralegal's not getting it. We might have to change the projected filing date right then and there. Because, listen, you just have our documents. This saves us money. This way, the paralegal's not involved yet. I strongly believe in having the legal assistant, paralegal team. And in fact, it's a way to scale the practice if you get really busy. You get busy enough, and I think that team should be able to handle at least 15 consumer cases a month. I think that's a fair estimate. You start doing more than that, you bring on another legal assistant, you find another virtual paralegal. We've talked a lot during the week about how to find them, and split up the alphabet. I had one legal assistant and paralegal team from A to L, and the other one from M to Z. And I keep my legal assistant and my paralegal in the same team. That way I have accountability. Jack Smith's case, I know which legal assistant it is. I have a system where once the case is cleared to escalate to the paralegal, my legal assistant fills out a little Infusionsoft form that says who the paralegal has been assigned to. Paralegal sees, I have a case. I have to go into the file. We have it on Google Drive. I have to go into next chapter, see what I've got, start getting the documents together, reach out to the client. And I, of course, see on Slack, Slack tells me that the legal assistant has escalated the case to the paralegal stage. So I know this is in paralegal stage. All right, let's go answer. Consultation fees, are they allowed? Sure, you can charge a fee based on your hourly rate. You're absolutely allowed. It's a business question. In the bankruptcy world, I think most people offer free consults, but you can charge. All right, what should I expect my minimum startup cost to be to get the proper software and team in place if I want to start a bankruptcy practice from the ground up? What a good question that is. Obviously, you need bankruptcy software, you need a CRM. Frankly, you could probably do everything through Google Docs. That's free. The team, the team is the most expensive part. If you're doing it on a piece basis, you can get away. Okay, one last question. Many older clients have trouble with computer applications, want to do everything in person or by snail mail. What kind of accommodations do you make for those clients? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you a very controversial answer. As time goes by, I don't take those clients on. If you can't do work by email and by text message and by right signature, you're just taking more time away from my clients who can do those things. You're taking time away where I could be watching, Dead to Me on Netflix, although I won't be watching that anymore because we finished it last night. And, you'll have to decide what accommodations you're willing to make. In the pandemic, it's hard, right? I mean, you can't just drop off documents at the office. The office is closed. All right. So, all right, let's go on to some more slides. I didn't answer your question, Lynn. I apologize, because it's almost impossible to answer because it depends on the software and it depends on your labor situation. Look, before the pandemic, when you had a 3% unemployment rate, yeah, you had to pay more for your labor. But now, when you've got a 20 to 25% unemployment rate, you could pay less. So I can't answer that question within the scope of this presentation, but it's a reasonable question. How much do you pay your legal assistant and virtual paralegal? Virtual paralegal costs, they're all over the place. I'm paying my legal assistant $15 an hour. One last question I'll answer before I go on. What percentage of Chapter 13 clients finish their plans? Very low percentage. It's a hard thing to accomplish. Okay. Collection of documents. Wow, what a headache this is in the bankruptcy process. First thing, got to have a document checklist. And I do this with the client during the onboarding process, and I customize it for them. And Next Chapter's software makes it pretty easy to customize. I'm going to give another plug to Next Chapter because they deserve it, frankly, not just because they've been so generous to me and they've been generous in putting this program together. But you know, it's such a great accessible team. I've gone to them with a solid 10 feature requests. And one of them was to make it a little bit easier to customize the document checklist and to make it easier to print the document checklist. And they enacted those. And wow, how great was that? It enabled me to really kind of like upscale a lot of my systems. So that's a very nice thing about the company. They're super responsive. There you go, call to action. Click that to sign up for Next Chapter. I think that's time well spent. All right, so we create the document checklist, and I do this right during the onboarding process. Let me see, this is what my document checklist looks like. I have it all in one column. I had to do some screenshots to make it fit better on the slide. And you could, you know, obviously, if you have somebody with a lease, they're not going to have a mortgage and a deed, and vice versa. So I cut that out because I'm going to send that to the client on the, you know, right away. They don't have a car, you don't need the titles to the motor vehicles. You're always going to need that driver's license and social security card. But this is what my my built-in document checklist looks like. All right, collection of documents. Sometimes if there's business documents, we add them. There's estate documents, we add them. And we put that right in the document checklist. When I send out the bankruptcy items, I send an email with the document checklist, with the questionnaire, with the credit counseling instructions, and with a heads up about the fact that they're going to get a client service agreement from Right Signature. And I have that set up. I have a Mac, and there's an app on the Mac. I'm sure they have something like this over on the PC side as well, called Automator. And you can, you know, set that up so that you automatically populate an email that will have the right title in it, the right subject line, will have all of those enclosures, and will have the text. And we did that. And that's, you know, somebody asked if I had a copy of my client service agreement, and that's something that's available in the course because I got many different client service agreements that I use for many different purposes. And this email, and we'll go through all that, that's available in the course. Also available in the course is going to be this email. If you have a Mac, I'll teach you how to set it up with Automator so that you'll be able to do it right then and there. that's part of the benefit of the course. Collection of documents. There's 5 ways. Online, clients like this. They upload it right to their file box in Infusionsoft, and we get a notification that they've uploaded documents. So it's great. Everybody knows, oh, they uploaded some documents. Email, clients like that. Fax, a little bit less popular. We use a VoIP system. We use Nextiva. And I'm not going to say Nextiva is any better than any other VoIP system, but they're good, and I've been using them for about 4 or 5 years now. And we record our calls. We record all calls coming in, and we're in a state where we have to tell them you're calling on a recorded line. And part of the reason that I record the calls, the main reason, is I want to make sure that from a training standpoint, that my team is interacting with the clients in a way that's best for everybody. At this point, I've had them a fairly long time, and I don't need to do that. Another reason I like recording calls is because, I forget. And I don't always take the best notes. I try to take really good notes, but it's good to go back. I've never once used the recording as a gotcha to prove to somebody that they said something that they didn't think they said. I haven't done that. Everybody knows that I record my client calls. By the way, the only people who ever object to my recording their calls are other lawyers. So take that for what it's worth. Now, we still get documents in by the mail. For a little while, I experimented with business reply mail, and I put together these really nice mailers with our logo and business reply. And the Postal Service screwed it up so badly. Dealing with the business division of the post office was so difficult for me that we ended up just giving it up. But you know what? You may already have that set up, especially if you use any kind of direct mail for your marketing. I think it's a good way to go if you can make it work. And of course, clients love to drop off documents, partly because they like to have their hands held a little bit. That's an important function in the bankruptcy world. You're holding your client's hand, and that's an important thing to remember. That's going to happen, and that's why you really need to set boundaries with clients. Client wants to come in for their initial client prep meeting, and they'll sit there for 2 hours. They'll bring their shoebox worth of documents, and they'll make my legal assistant sit through it for 2 hours. And you have to set boundaries, even though these are such nice people, and they are helpless. But they're stealing from your other clients. And they're stealing from you. So you have to set boundaries. But the less sophisticated clients really do like to drop them off. And with this pandemic, it's been much harder. Okay, so the referral to the paralegal, I discussed this already. The legal assistant clears the case for filing after collecting the documents, reviewing the questionnaire. Everybody's questionnaire is terrible. Everybody's. It's just because clients, there is a document that needs to be filed called the Statement of Financial Affairs. And it has a series of questions about client transactions and interactions with others and with the world around them, with attorneys. And their eyes glaze over when they look at those questions. So frequently we do walk through that with them during the initial client prep meeting. All right, let me see if we have some questions. Does the math work? The legal should be able to handle up to 15 cases per month. Can revenue generated by 15 ongoing cases support the legal assistance virtual paralegal team? Well, let's look at that. That's John Jules wants to know if the math works. All right, so let's say it's 30 and 15. All right, let's say you end up paying $150 or $200 for the virtual paralegal. Let's say you pay $150. That's $450 for staffing to get a case done. You've got general overhead. I mean, the math works. And I'll say this, if you can't get the math to work, then you have to look at some other things in the practice. And we're going to talk, we talk about that in complete bankruptcy. It's a big deal. John, that is the $1 million question. All right. Dina Baxter wants to know, how much is complete bankruptcy? It's a couple of bankruptcy cases. That's the cost. All right. That's the best rough estimate for me to say how much it costs. It's a modest investment to get your practice off the ground with a kind of built-in mentorship. All right. Let's see. I think we've gone through. All right. Kelly, we're doing good. We're getting a lot of these questions answered. All right, let's go through some more slides. I have a system in my office where I talk to clients, I do the sale, and then I'll talk to them again after they get their discharge. Sometimes I talk to them after their meeting with the trustee or before their meeting with the trustee. We try to get as many questions as possible answered by the legal assistant. So you know, and so she has a great rapport with my clients. My clients love her. You want a legal assistant that your clients are going to love, because they're going to be talking to that person a lot. Because that person is going to be able to answer most of their questions. If she can't answer the questions, we have the paralegal take her best shot at answering the questions. If they can't, they pull me in and I answer the question. And I tell my clients, listen, I have bad news for you, which is that you're talking to me. Because usually if they're talking to me, it means that there's a hard question. Like, if we have a client that's in a Chapter 7, but the exemptions don't cover all their assets, that's a call I have to make. I've got to be in on that. I've got to explain their options at that point, because it's a hard call to make. If people want directions to the courthouse, or if people just want to know, I've got a car jointly with my wife. Should I list that on my bankruptcy schedule? No, either the paralegal or the legal assistant can answer that question. So we try to set it up so that I answer as few questions as possible, because it just keeps the office streamlined. All right, Sarah wants to know, let's see this. All right, let's do a couple more slides and we'll go. All right. Okay. The paralegal answers the more advanced questions. Now, I have clients very upset with us after the paralegal goes through the bank statements and sees large transfers and wants documentation about them. And the clients will complain, sometimes bitterly, that I gave you all the documents on the checklist. Why do you need more documents? And I have explained to them already, you know what, we may need more documents as we get into your case, because you can't know everything that you need to know after the initial consult. That's why you need to go through the documents and the tax returns and the bank statements and the pay stubs. And that sometimes brings up other questions. You know, the list of expenses. You know, I had a client have like $350 a month for insurance for your Chapter 13 case. And we said, what? That's impossible, $350 a month. That's like $5,000 a year or $4,500 a year. They said, yeah, I got into 3 accidents and I had my license suspended, and this is how much they're actually costing. So we needed documentation on why it was that expensive. Okay, so they interact with your, all right. Should you file before having all the documents? Really, No, but you will, because the client, because the document you need might be the vehicle title or something like that, and maybe you don't want to hold it up for that. It's a bare bones case. They're getting garnished. There's a foreclosure case coming up. There's a bank seizure. Maybe somebody came to you on the 30th day of March, and you looked through the means test and you said, wow, we got to file tomorrow. Otherwise, we're going to have to include March income in a tie, and they'll be disqualified from Chapter 7. So then you'll do your credit counseling and go ahead and get the case filed. So you're not going to get all your documents before you do that. Look, bankruptcy clients are notoriously disorganized and unreliable. And, I don't want you to get the feeling that I don't like my clients. Our mantra at the office is we love our clients, but they're hard. Bankruptcy clients can be really hard to get these documents from. I'm thrilled that so many businesses now use ADP, and banks have their bank statements online, and people have their tax returns they file through TurboTax. So they already have those documents in digital format, and it's easy to get them. And remember, you will never have more leverage than before you file the case, and they will resist your need for more documentation. All right, so Laura Thatcher wants to know, is there a payment for complete flat fee or payment plans? Honestly, I haven't really decided that. Most people are just putting it on a credit card, but if you sign up and you schedule a 15-minute call with me and we talk about it, you know what? I want people to succeed in this practice, so we may be able to work something out. Now, Sarah Stevens wants to know, fees held in escrow. Do ghosted clients' fees remain in escrow for how long? Okay. As part of my cancellation charge, I include a monthly amount of a monthly fee for keeping a case open, for monitoring it, for being prepared to answer creditor calls. And so that way I get to capture some of those fees. But yeah, I mean, you're supposed to keep them in escrow. All right, the credit report. I love the credit report. I hate the credit report. The credit report is great. Your software provider has an arrangement with a credit report provider, and has the ability to import creditor lists directly from the credit report, and that's a godsend. That's hugely valuable. But your clients will want to rely on the credit report for their creditors, and that's a terrible mistake. And you can't let them do that because look at all these claims that don't always appear. Landlord evictions, some medical claims, family claims, business deaths, taxes. They're not on the credit report, so you have to have that information. And they're frequently incorrect, so you just can't fully rely on them. But they're still a godsend. You're talking about 80, 85% of the claims out there are going to be on the credit report. You're going to have a close enough idea of how much is owed from the credit report, so you can rely on them, but don't over rely on them. All right. So, okay, that is a very shortened version of my systems. I have a lot of communication systems to keep clients apprised of, like, if they fall off a payment. If I have a payment plan, if they fall off of the payment, then I have an automated email go out to them. Reminders, we have that set up. When there are, like I said, I sent out an email for the people who had signed up for information about complete bankruptcy. And the first email, I had a text of 3 emails that I send out. That happens automatically during the course of the engagement. So I have a system for getting testimonials, we have 150 testimonials. I was amazed at that slide about that Minnesota law firm that has 1,000 testimonials. I was so impressed by that. You know what? You should ask for testimonials, immediately, several times during the engagement. You should ask for testimonials after the meeting with the trustee, maybe after the no distribution report, after the discharge. Keep asking for them. You can get them. So these are the slides. You've already seen them a couple of times regarding a lot of the systems that I've already talked about that we're going through with complete bankruptcy. Complete bankruptcy is going to launch next week. Basically, as soon as you pay, you're going to get a login and a password, and you'll be able to start accessing information right on it. I am going to be supplementing it on a regular basis immediately for things that just couldn't get in on launch. There's a complete bankruptcy mastermind that's involved. You get the first 3 months of that as part of the cost of complete bankruptcy.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Katie.
Hi. So I'll let you finish quickly because it looks like you only have 4 more slides, but we have a ton of questions.
You know what? I think I've gone through a lot. I knew that there were going to be a lot of questions, so I took breaks frequently during the presentation to answer the greatest upvoted questions. But yeah, so like I said, you've all seen these slides before. What I'm going to do pretty much within a few minutes after this presentation is over, I'm going to send out an email to everybody who has asked for information, and that email is going to have a link to schedule a 15-minute call with me. I've had so much interest for it that I'm going to be scheduling. I was scheduling them for a half an hour, but I decided to change it to 15 minutes to get more people in. We're going to do them early-ish in the morning and later in the evening and on weekends. I had to get permission from my wife for that, but she's on board. And so, yeah, sign up. I look forward to speaking with you because to me, there's a relationship that's of interest to me. I want to be able to provide, when possible, direct answers to the questions. The mastermind is going to be twice monthly, where we'll talk about an item of content that I will circulate to the members, and we'll talk about that content. That content could be marketing, it could be systems, it could be substantive, it could be forms, because I've got tons and tons and tons of content that I've generated over the years, and I'm ready to share it. It's time for me to share. So
you're about to be busy, but yeah. Okay.
No, it's good because everybody's going to be busy.
Yeah, well, we're posting it again. So Kelly just posted it again. And then if you don't mind, I have a few questions from some users that Kelly and Sarah collected.
Absolutely.
So one of them is talking about the texting. So they say, I think you mentioned that you use text. Is it your personal cell? And if so, how can you be sure the client won't abuse that communication?
It is not my personal cell. That is a legitimate question, right? And you don't want to be in a position to block it. And I'm impressed. More and more attorneys are putting their cell phone into their email signature block. I've noticed that. That's your call. That's your call. I mean, some people, they want to capture that. And at a certain point, when you're starting out, I don't think it's a terrible idea, but yeah, I mean, I talk to clients on my cell phone. I tell them, you know what, don't call me back on the cell phone because I don't have good systems in place to return cell phone calls. I tell them you're much better off calling the switchboard. We use an answering service, and I will get that momentarily after the call comes in. Whereas if it comes in on my cell, I don't do it. All right, so Infusionsoft has a plugin through.
So does Next Chapter.
And I was about to say, so does Next Chapter.
Next Chapter.
Next Chapter you know what? We use both, actually. We do use both. My paralegal really likes the Next Chapter text one.
I mean,
I'll tell you the truth. The reason, and here, feature request. We'll see if you guys can do this one. I have a lot of my Infusionsoft campaigns that automate with text messages. And so, you know, as reminders, you fall off the payment plan. So that's why I use that. I think the Next Chapter text is great, and if I could incorporate that into my API for my campaigns, great. But that's a lot of heavy lifting for a software company.
Yeah, so we do have like all the automated recipes that you can set up, but they don't integrate anything right now. So I'm the person to ask for that. So I'll see.
All right. Yeah, put up the Next Chapter call to action.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, my paralegal loves your chat, probably more than the other chat we use. We use them both.
Cool.
Right,
So
and there are a lot of services that do chat.
Yeah. Do clients ever ask you, if you make the clients gather all the documents and fill out a questionnaire, what are they paying you for if they're doing all the work?
Yeah, that does come up. And I say that, you know what? Do you know what your exemptions are? Do you know when to send documents to the trustee?
No.
Do you know how to deal with the trustee if he finds out that you're over exempt? Do you know what belongs on Schedule I and what belongs on Schedule J? And do you have a sense of what expenses are going to be permissible? Do you have an idea about how to reaffirm your car loans so that you don't lose it? And if they say yes to all those questions, yeah. You know?
Have they ever though?
No.
No. No way. No. How do you go about getting the filing date bank statements from clients without having to bug them multiple times? Same goes for their other course certificates too.
You have to bug them multiple times. Yeah, you're in bug mode with your clients all the time. I mean, but then, you know, half your clients are wonderful. Half your clients are just great. They'll give you everything you need. They'll upload it to the file box, or they'll send you an email, and you have everything you need for the ICP, and it goes smooth. Half your clients are like that.
Cool. So do you always pull credit reports, or do you ever have your clients provide those?
I always, because my clients want to save the $35, which is understandable. But I say, no, we have to pull the credit report. We want a current credit report. Plus, it imports their credit report won't import creditors into the software like it does with Next Chapter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of manual work. What have you been doing right now about client signatures?
I use Right Signature. In fact, I had the U.S. trustee sign off on Right Signature. We've been using it for years for our wet signatures.
Do you, I think it was you who was saying you're hopeful that sticks after this all even?
I don't know how the reopening is going around the country on courthouses. Courthouses are a little bit like ball fields, right? They're public places. How do you enforce social distancing? I don't know what they're going to do. I think courthouses are going to be some of the last places to reopen. So As long as courthouses are not open, and as long as, you know, people are encouraged to stay home, then I think all of this remote meetings with the trustee and remote signing of documents will stay in place. And if it goes on for a year, you know, how do you gonna get the boy back on the farm once they've seen Paris?
Yeah, we're getting questions constantly about signatures and all of that fun stuff. Let's do one more question here. Let's see. What should I expect my minimum startup cost to be to get proper software and team in place if I'm going to try and start a bankruptcy practice from the ground up?
I tried to get my arms around that question, Katie.
Did you ask it already? Sorry.
Yeah, I tried. It's a really tricky question. I tried to get most of the, you know, the upvoted questions in during the presentation. All right, somebody wants to know the deal between next chapter and complete bankruptcy. You know what, Janine and I have been talking about that, and we have a lot of ideas. And right now they're in the idea phase. But you know what, we want people, you know, obviously we want business, so we're not going to hide that. But you know, we want people to get in on this practice. We think it's going to be good for everybody to do it. So we want to make it attractive for them. And I'll tell you, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having a module that's going to be not part of complete bankruptcy. It's going to be an add-on, and it's going to be dealing with key performance indicators and how to deal with those, which are, you know, leads, appointments set, appointments shown, and hires, and it's going to be it's a critical part of your office system. And it's going to be a module I'm going to put together. And for everybody who books an appointment and hires, they book an appointment within the first week after bankruptcy week is over. And they're not going to be able to get in because it's going to fill up. But if you book an appointment, if you try to book an appointment, and when we get together and we talk, you hire, I'm going to throw in the key performance indicator module for free. If you don't, and people coming along later, I'm going to sell that probably for $500. So that's a thing that I'm going to throw in. You know, and we'll have a special mastermind session for people who did that. And we're working on something. You know, Janine and I are working on something on the next chapter side to make a value proposition for people who sign up for both.
Okay, cool. Okay, last question for real this time because people want to know. Do you think it's possible to get a practice up and running while solo? In other words, can it be done without the staff initially and then you can hire staff once the income is there?
Yeah, hire everybody virtually. I mean, you know what? If you're a solo and you're in Tahiti, but you have next chapter and you've got you know, a cloud-based, you know, CRM, and you have relationships in place, go to Upwork for your legal assistant, go to Next Chapter for a virtual paralegal, and you're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest problem, frankly, are hard copy documents that come in that need to be scanned and moved into your Google Drive. But you know what? There are services that do that. There are services where you can forward mail to a central location. They'll take everything and they will scan it for you. And then you can have your virtual assistant, wherever you are, move it into your Google Drive directory. It's a great world.
Yeah, awesome. And then there were some people, I mean, I know you've had a ton of interest. So there were some people who said like they signed up for complete bankruptcy and they didn't receive an email or anything yet. Are you reaching out to everyone, or what are next steps for that?
Well, what I didn't want to have happen is I didn't want to have a bunch of discussions during bankruptcy week. I didn't want to distract from what Next Chapter was doing during bankruptcy week by doing that. So in fact, I had one call and it was great. It was a very nice conversation. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put everything off. And what I wanted to do was send out the emails to everybody during the week to give you an idea of what was involved, of the kind of content that was available from Complete Bankruptcy. And then, like I said, after this, I'm going to send out an email blast with slots to talk, to people about what's involved, so that people can get involved. And if people are really, really frustrated because they can't get in to see me, I know they will email me, and I welcome those emails. We'll try to make this work because I want to do it, and I want the people who've come who want to get into the practice to have that resource.
Awesome. Well, we're excited for you. That's great. And thank you again so much for being a part of this week. It's been really fun, and it's awesome to see all the interest in people that really want to learn and learn it right. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your day. For the rest of you, I'll leave this up a couple minutes if you want to ask any more questions or chat. And then our last session is in an hour. So thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. And Ron, I will talk to you soon about feature requests.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
All right, Katie. Take care. Bye-bye.